Facebook has sent a blunt and shocking message to the world. Any attempt to force it to pay for news content will mean an end to those feeds. The country woke up today to find most Australian news pages were just a blank space. But caught up as collateral damage were many other posts from charities, critical health sites and emergency services. The stunning move has ignited a wave of fury. Political editor Andrew Probyn begins our coverage.
At the last count, 600 million of us are your friends.
Facebook, no longer friendly.
Big news on Facebook.
The big news being no news.
And they are cutting us loose.
This is the 9 News page right now, completely cleared.
Facebook pulling the plug, not just on Australian publishers of news, but the Bureau of Meteorology, emergency services, charities, universities, utility companies, retailers, government and public health sites.
Facebook's actions were unnecessary. They were heavy-handed and they will damage its reputation here in Australia.
The social media giant striking out against the federal government's media bargaining laws that would force it to pay Australian news outlets for their content. Tech rival Google has already made deals with Nine, Seven West Media and News Corp to pay for their journalism. The ABC's still in negotiation.
The products we build have changed the world.
Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg's taken a hands-on approach in the company's dealings with the government, undoubtedly unenthusiastic about other nations following Australia's lead.
It's fair to say the eyes of the world are watching what's happening here in Australia in real time.
This will have consequences for people who are trying to access health news during a pandemic.
A concern shared by those who've been at the front line of the COVID response, especially with the vaccination program about to start.
We encourage the population to go to trusted sites, so health.gov.au.
We say to Facebook, stop this now, and perhaps it's time to put people over profit.
Facebook saying poorly drafted legislation was to blame for its actions.
The law is very vague about what includes news organisations, but there were some pages, including government pages, which were inadvertently included, and we've now restored those.
We've stood up to the digital giants so far, but our number one commitment is to legislate this code.
Facebook and Google have drained billions of dollars from traditional news media, so there's a lot riding on this code, not just in Australia, but internationally. Both sides of politics have condemned Facebook's tactics. The Prime Minister using the platform today to declare the company arrogant in its efforts to intimidate and, quote, unfriend Australia. If the company thought it could force the government into retreat, that's backfired. Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
So, with both the government and Facebook digging in their heels, it's not clear if that news content will ever return. And experts warn that could mean a rise in the spread of misinformation. Rachel Papazzoni reports.
I just won't use Facebook anymore.
I think what Facebook is doing is disgraceful.
They need to pay for it or pay their taxes.
So trying to limit what you can get there just seems a bit too controlling, I guess.
About 17 million Australians have a Facebook account. Until today, some of them relied on the platform to get their news and community information, and media organisations have relied on Facebook to send users their way.
We will not hesitate to make the tough decisions.
ABC News Facebook pages broadcast almost 4,500 COVID-related press conferences in the last year, bringing in 125 million views.
Good afternoon all.
It isn't alone. Australian news outlets, large and small, also lean on Facebook for traffic. The social giant says that added audience is worth more than $400 million.
It largely depends on how readers react in the longer term. This could end up being a net positive for media outlets.
Not everyone agrees it's the social media giants who should be paying.
If there were any sense in this, the platforms would be owed money by the publishers, for the platforms are sending the publishers traffic.
Sharing and viewing local and international news.
In an already shrinking Australian media landscape, it's unlikely all news players will survive without the help of digital gatekeepers like Facebook.
If that audience dissipates, then they'll be under threat, and we may find that
only the large voices remain.
Which is the kind of reaction governments and news outlets around the world will be watching closely here in Australia as they grapple with how to manage the influence Facebook and Google have on their own media.
It is incredibly concerning at this time, at any time, for a platform to remove reliable, accurate news sources and leave it flooded with misinformation and disinformation.
The real test now, will Facebook users take the extra step and go straight to the source? Rachel Papazzoni, ABC News.
ABC News pages have been blocked by Facebook, but all of our stories can be found at news.abc.net.au. You can also download the ABC News app here, and you can stream the ABC News channel or download iView.